Hello and welcome to another video. So I know it's been a while since my last video where I told you about my accepted offer for my internship with Freshbooks. So I apologize for anyone who's been waiting for an update on that. And just a quick shout out to everybody who liked and commented and watched that video. I received really good feedback, way more views than I was expecting. And it's motivating for me to know that people are getting value from videos like that, so I will continue to try and make videos that will be useful and or enjoyable to you. So yeah, on with this one. A lot's been happening since I accepted my internship. So I started out on September 6th, and I've been basically spending my days at work, 8 hours plus a day working with Freshbooks, and then in the evenings working on my final Rails project, which is a production application. And on the weekends also working on that project. So not much time left to make videos, and especially when I'm trying to spend time with family and friends and hobbies and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to give you an update on what I've been working on. And if you don't recall, I had reached the Rails, the end of the Rails component of the Odin project, and for my final project I didn't just want to make the standard Facebook clone, which I think is a great project, but I figured if I was going to spend a lot of time making something, I wanted it to actually have some real world value and be used by people. And I also think that is a really good way to stand out from the crowd, to have a production application. So when you're going into interviews, you can see a little spark light up in the interviewer's eye when you say you have a production application. It's intriguing. It's like, oh, okay, so you've obviously gone through a lot more considerations and work than you would have if it was just a toy application. And that's not to talk down on, there's some amazing toy applications out there, but I think it's a lot of work to go from zero to production on something. And yeah, I just wanted to show you a little bit of what this production app looks like, and you can see it on the screen here. So I rescued a dog from Mexico, and it was a very informal process with this organization. It was all just through Facebook messages and WhatsApp. And my dog is great. We love her. She's part of the family, and I really wanted to help these guys out. And since I was learning web development, it just made sense that, well, you guys don't have a website, as I've experienced, and that those little things around that, again, my wife wasn't too sure if it would be reliable or if it was kind of a scam or what. So I thought that there'd be a lot of benefit to build these guys a small web app that they could use. Not only would it give them more credibility, but also facilitate their process, and as well as make things easier for adopters too. So I reached out to them and pitched the idea to them, and they were very receptive, and I worked with them to figure out kind of what you'd call the business logic of what they need, and I designed the back end to suit that, as well as a front end, which I think turned out pretty well, all things considered. I will actually create a video or two that goes into more detail about the development process of this app. But I just wanted to showcase it here because it is new, it is launched. I'd love to get the word out about it. Perhaps someone who wants to adopt a dog. This would be a great site to point them to as an option. So just looking at my notes here. Yeah, so we went live in late November, and it was a pretty hectic development process for me because it was my first app. I wanted it to go right, and it was kind of my first big Rails project, and it took me 5 months to get it from first line of code or Rails new to a production application. And there's a lot more going on there than just the development side of things. There's a lot of meetings with the stakeholder, there's a lot of wireframing of the front end, there's figuring out how to use Amazon S3 for image hosting, how to deploy on like a Heroku or Heroku alternative. There's lots of things to consider there, as well as costs and all these things. There's a lot more going on there than just your average toy app. So it kept me busy, and I was working on it almost full time for the first 2.5, 3 months. And then when my internship started, I was working on this application in the evenings and on the weekends when I had, when I wasn't with family or friends on the weekends, etc. So it was a really good learning experience, and it's now live, and they've had 5 or maybe 6 successful adoptions so far. There's been really good feedback from the stakeholders. They enjoy using it. It's making their process far more efficient. As well, for the adopters themselves, they say the feedback I've received is it's very straightforward, easy to use, and only good things. And I'm sure that there's some things that could be improved. I have fixed a few little bugs here and there on forms that input fields could have been tweaked to be more user friendly, for example. But so far, so good. And I think part of that is because I kept the design very simple. Like if you look at the back-end code of this, it's quite straightforward of at least the relations between the tables and what's going on there. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want to get bogged down in detail, because the more bogged down in detail you are when you're on a timeline, the more likely you are to not meet your goals and fail. At least that's the way I felt about it. I figured let's get something simple up and running, and then I can always build more functionality as time goes. So yeah, we have adoptions happening. Feedback's been really good. And then for the future development of this, I'm going to continue adding features to this site. But what I've also done is now I really wanted to get this to MVP production myself as a showcase of what I was capable of, but then knowing that you're far more powerful or productive or far more capable in numbers and with different minds working with you. I really wanted to also open this up to contributions and collaboration. So that's what I'm doing now. I've got one Rails dev from the Odin project who was a really active member on the forum there, who's willing to contribute to this. So we've had a meeting to figure out what work he's going to do, and mainly we're focusing on test coverage right now, just to make sure that we have a really good test coverage before we start adding or changing features. And then once we've got test coverage down, we'll be focusing on maybe refactoring or features next. But it's great. I really enjoy working with other people because you get different perspectives. They see things that you don't, and you can learn things from other people. So that's where this app is evolving to next now, is a collaborative project. And if anyone is familiar with Rails or wants to learn about it, do let me know. And I'd love to have people more interested and willing to help out or learn by contributing to this project. The URL, I should have brought that up front, but it's https://www.bajaPetRescue.com. I haven't hooked up the subdomain, so I don't think you can just type bajaPetRescue.com yet. I know I need to do that, so you're going to have to type the full URL, or at least with the www domain. So to get to the repo, if you scroll to the footer, you'll see the GitHub icon down here, and you can click that, and it'll take you to the repo, and yeah, you can take a look around if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So here's the site. It's pretty straightforward. If you're familiar with front-end development, you will know that this is built using Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is amazing for its namesake, bootstrapped projects, where you don't have a ton of time or money, but you need something that looks good, or at least reasonable, and is easy to use. And Bootstrap is amazing for that. And it's really leverages the CSS grid and Flexbox to make decent responsive websites. As you can see, this is it is nice and responsive. These stack up nicely when you get to a certain size, or they fill out horizontally with a larger screen. So Bootstrap got only good things to say about it, although if lots of websites using it, they kind of tend to look the same, but that's fine. What I'm focusing on here is value for the stakeholder and the end user. So as you can see here, you can browse your dogs, and all of these dogs are real live dogs in Mexico right now, in the Baja Peninsula, that need a home. And they're all great dogs from Mexico. They have a bit of a reputation as being chilled, laid back dogs, and my experience with them is, yeah, they're great dogs. And if you know anyone who is looking for a pooch, please do let them know about this site, and yeah, they can go from there to figure out what dog might be good for them. I just want to get the word out for this site. If you have any ideas on how to approach marketing this website in a respectful, kind of organic way, I would like to hear your input. That please leave a comment down below on some ideas, or if you know anyone who might be willing to share this website with a network that they have, that would be amazing, because we have lots of dogs here, and they all need a home. Okay, so yeah, we have users. We have either an adopter user or a staff user. So adopters, they get a profile that they need to fill out with all the detailed questions that dog adoption agencies generally ask, and then the staff users get like a dashboard where they can look at the applications that have come in on a dog. They can review people's profiles, and they can then create an adoption which links excuse me, it links a dog with an adopter. So yeah, it's working and it's great. So I'm really happy about that. Okay, if you have any questions about this or want me to talk about anything in particular in future videos, do let me know, please. Okay, next on to Freshbooks. This is the other thing I've been spending a ton of time on in the last 3.5 months. I'm an intern at Freshbooks. It's a Canadian cloud-based accounting company, basically based in Toronto. Though it is now global and has a dispersed team, mostly working remotely. They do have an office in Toronto as well if someone wants to head out there and get some office environment too. It's been great so far. I got to attend an in-person event in Niagara Falls, and being an intern, I didn't expect to get flown out there and do that, but I was granted the approval to do so, and it was amazing getting to meet everyone, spending 2 days with 200 plus developers, just making those human-to-human, person-to-person connections that are really hard to do remotely. I think it really helps then when you go and work remotely to have met that person in person. And it was a very memorable time. It was amazing. So good things to say about that. So yeah, I guess before I jump into stacks, here's what the application looks like for your average user. It started off as an invoicing platform, but it has grown so much since then. So you can add clients, details about clients. You can create invoices for these clients. You can add payments or receive payments through the application from these clients. You can track your expenses and add them to projects and invoices. You can create estimates of projects. You can track your time of yourself or those on your team. You can create projects, and you can invite people to join your team or collaborate with you. And also we're working on payroll. So for small companies that have staff, well, they can now be or soon will be able to pay their staff through Freshbooks, and that will be starting in America, and then hopefully expanding out to the other markets that use Freshbooks. So my stacks, or these stacks that I work in there's a ton of services that run this application. There's a front-end service that's in Ember.js, and then a load of back-end services that are written in different stacks. I get to work in the front-end, Ember.js, and then back-end I work in Python Flask and Ruby and Rails, or Ruby on Rails. So technically I'm a full-stack developer, which is great because it's really good to get that experience, but what comes with that is a very steep learning curve, especially when you consider frameworks like Ember.js themselves have a steep learning curve. I have that to learn, as well as a brand new backend stack of Python and Flask, which is, it's different from what I understand in Ruby on Rails, so there's a lot to learn there. And then the Ruby on Rails application is also, it's very large, but I can find my way around that application much easier than I can the other two stacks. But any exposure to different technologies right now at this stage in my career is great. It helps me learn a ton. It really does. The Ember.js is quite a beast. I don't know if any of you have experience with Ember.js. It's an MVC front-end framework. It was popular back in 2012 when Freshbooks decided to change their UI, but it has since dwindled in popularity, though it's still a very capable framework. But there's a lot for me to learn, and I'm by no means anywhere near mastering these 3 or at least 2 application stacks that I'm not familiar with, so Ember.js and Python Flask. I can find my way around, but I'm pretty slow, and I'm still finding how to do things in the best practice way. But that's what development's all about, and onboarding at a new company, you've got to learn these things, and luckily I'm given the time and patience to learn them and get stuck in. So my role here is really, I'm treated like a developer. I am an intern, but I'm part of a team of developers, and the expectation is that I contribute as a developer, albeit, yes, I'm going to have more questions and be a bit slower, but I'm still expected to contribute to the overall goals of the team. I'm not given any menial tasks. I'm not given any tasks that are repetitive or say less important or lower priority. The stuff I'm working on the same tickets as all the other engineers who are either engineer 1, 2, 3 or senior. There's a list of tickets that we need to go through, and I pick a ticket off there and I get stuck in. So there's no kind of filtering of you're an intern, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this. Whatever I want to do, I would have good or reasonable autonomy on picking that up. Obviously, being an intern, I try and find the more simple, straightforward tickets, but that isn't always the way, as I've learned out, because I've been working on a pretty challenging ticket now for the past 3 weeks, but it's been a great learning experience. So in a typical day, there's usually, we all work remotely, our whole team is dispersed remotely, so in a typical day, so it's a pretty early start, and usually we start with a stand-up meeting, and then there may be some other meetings related to sprint planning or the likes that are part of the Agile framework that are usually had in Agile work planning. But there's usually an hour to maybe 2 hours of meetings a day, and then the rest of the day you spend working on your tickets or any other project work that you might have. For example, I just created a template for our ticket descriptions because we needed some more standardization there, so that was kind of a side project that I was working on with the managers. And yeah, that's your typical day. Meetings and followed by development, and I try to get as much pair coding in as I can because it's a good way to learn from people around you, especially people who know more than you do. You could pick up good habits from them. Typical kind of work that I do depends on the stack that I'm working in. If it's a front end, I might be tweaking the way something looks, or I might be fixing little bugs here and there where certain values should be showing up as one thing, but they're showing up as another. I could be adding in some, validations. A lot of it's using conditional statements. There's nothing too complex going on there. The hardest part is really just understanding the information flow through large applications like or frameworks like Ember.js. That's kind of the hardest part because there's a ton of different files that interact with each other there. So it's piecing those together, I think, is the biggest challenge. For backend tickets, validations, database migrations, fairly straightforward things like that. And then, as far as the last topic there on extension, so I got really good reviews from my manager and I got extended for a second term, so I'll be doing another internship from January to April of 2023, and the goal there is then to get a return offer in April to have a full-time position, and I'm happy with that. Some people might say, oh, why don't they offer you a full-time position instead of an internship? At this stage in my career, I'm still learning a ton. I'm brand new to the industry. I do think I bring a lot of other skills to this position beyond the technical side of things, having spent a decade in another career in both technical positions and in management. But I still feel like that my technical side, I want it to be better. I'd feel more confident if it was a little more advanced before wanting a full-term position. So I think another internship will help me achieve that for sure. So it's good, and having that offer is better than no offer, that's for sure. So I'm happy with the way things are going. We'll see what happens in April, but yeah, it's been very tough, very challenging. I'm learning a ton, and many times you get that feeling of can I do this? Do I know enough about what I'm doing? Are people going to think I'm an idiot? Imposter syndrome kicks in, and then you finally figure something out. You're like, oh, I can do this. Yeah, I do know what I'm doing. Like, I'm the shit kind of thing. and then you're right back into the red again when your tests are failing and you can't figure out why, and you have to go asking someone for help. So yeah, really good experience. But generally, you learn that developers all go through these kind of emotions, and it's okay to ask for help as long as you're trying to approach somebody with good questions, well thought out questions, and you've done as much as you can before you start asking questions. You don't want to be a lazy question asker. I have a ton of things I could talk about in this internship. I really do. So if you have any questions, specific questions of what you'd like to know about what I've been through and what I might recommend someone who's looking for their first position or an internship position, please ask away down in the comments below. This video has been long already, so I want to end it here. Thanks for watching again. Thanks everyone to whoever likes and comments and subscribes to these videos. It's great, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, goodbye.